We are also hearing more from the Emiratis. Here's the latest from Dr. Sultan Al Jaber. He's the CEO of the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, with some very strong words to describe what Iran is doing in this region.
Weaponizing the Strait of Hormuz is not an act of aggression against one nation. It is economic terrorism against every nation. And no country should be allowed to hold Hormuz hostage. Not now, not ever. And while we all appreciate all efforts to stabilize markets and reduce prices, let us be clear. This is not a supply issue. It is a security issue, and has only one durable answer: keeping the strait open. We cannot trade our way out of this crisis.
A message delivered to the audience at CERAWeek, which is a very influential industry conference going on this week. That message delivered virtually to the conference by Dr. Sultan Al Jaber there. Well, despite attacks on key infrastructure, US allies in the region have not so far taken any military action on Tehran. But the Wall Street Journal says Gulf states are now taking tougher steps which could set them on the course for direct conflict. Well, I want to talk this reporting through now with Hamad Al-Thaniyan, who's Assistant Professor of Political Science at Kuwait University. He joins us now live. What do you make of the Wall Street Journal's reporting on Saudi and the UAE, for example, inching towards joining the fight?
Thank you, Becky. Well, first, let me say that the region has dodged a bullet, at least for the next 4 days, by President Trump's announcement to postpone the attack on the power plants in Iran. I think the reporting and what we have seen over the past 3 weeks is that the diplomatic discourse of the Gulf states have evolved since this war started. The message to the U.S. is that the Gulf states shouldn't be treated as war zones, operational war zones, or collateral damage. Therefore, the consequences of any U.S. military action or targets chosen in Iran should be accounted for. I think the second message to the United States and to this administration is that there is no military resolution to this conflict. Therefore, there should be a clear strategic planning for what could come the day after. The third message, I think, speaks to what was mentioned in this article, and that message is to Tehran. Don't mistake the GCC states' strategic patience for weakness. And as long as the Iranian aggression intensifies, the Gulf state might have no option but to use their offensive capabilities to neutralize the Iranian threats, and perhaps other measures that could be taken in that direction.
You heard Sultan Al Jaber there, CEO of ADNOC, making the case that Iran's actions are not just against the Gulf states, Kuwait where you are, UAE where I am, and the damage, the targeting of not just military infrastructure but civilian infrastructure as well. But the choking of Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, makes this a global problem. What does the GCC want from its allies, its partners, its friends outside of this region to that end?
Well, I think the Gulf states have tried to seek different methods in order to rectify this problem. The first one was through a direct communication with Iran through the Omanis. What the Omanis are doing, and they've been successful, at least in one instance. Today we saw a Thai tanker that passed through the Strait of Hormuz, and that was good, but it's like a Band-Aid to a deep wound. This could not continue without strict measures and recognizing that this strait is an international strait under the United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas, and no state should have a right, including Iran, to block the transit, the safe transit through that passage. So they are pursuing different pathways in order to reach, including the potential to reach or to join international coalition to safeguard this passage.
Pakistan offering to host talks involving Iran, Israel and the US. Saudi and Pakistan have a joint defence agreement. I just wonder that, there is speculation as to whether Saudi would be supporting that effort by Pakistan, and how much sort of influence would the Saudis have over how this conflict ends if Pakistan were to mediate at this point. I wonder what your thoughts are on that, and what is the best case scenario to end this war from a Gulf perspective?
Excellent question. I think we need to remember that the realities on the ground are too raw, the mistrust is too profound, and even the strategic interests of these parties are too divergent to reach an immediate escalation. I think the fundamentals of this conflict are still intact. The US and Israel don't feel that the Iranian regime is weakened enough. The Iranians still see a value in raising the cost of this conflict. Now, the best possible scenario, in my opinion, whether in Pakistan this week, which I hope it would bear fruitful, or perhaps somewhere at another point of time, is to communicate the red lines and try to climb down, go down the escalation ladder. This will probably be gradual, tacit, and perhaps even asymmetrical. But at the end, in my opinion, this will be driven by exhaustion of the conflict rather than the preferences of the state actors.